Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. Hi, I am your host. My name is Dr. And we host this show that's for women in business. And we're talking about all sorts of women in business, women in small business, women in larger businesses, women who might be online, brick and mortar, experienced women in business, women just starting out. It really doesn't matter. We even have some of our members who are retired and they help us in more of a mentorship role. But what holds us all together is that as women in business, we recognize that there is an opportunity for there to be more of us in business. There's an opportunity for us to all be doing better in our businesses. And we also know that when women link arms together and support each other, that everybody wins. And so this is an opportunity for women in business to share their gifts and talents with other women in business so that they can grow and then they can come on the show and share their gifts and talents. And we can all grow from that and on it goes until who knows, maybe just by us doing this small thing will light up the people we're here to light up, will serve the people we're here to serve, and on it goes until maybe the world will be a better place. Who knows, just from this little show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. And I would invite you, if you're interested in being on our show or being part of our community of women linking arms to support each other, it's really, really easy just to go to Grow Smarter, Not Harder.com/log in. And there you'll see information about how to join our monthly networking meetings, how to be a part of our Facebook community, how to access all sorts of resources that we have for women in business. All right, enough about me and my stuff. On with the show. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and I love when our shows are international. Sometimes we have guests who join us from the Caribbean or from Europe or from all over the US. But today, our special guest is joining us from Canada. So, welcome, Yvonne. Thank you so much for being a part of our show today.
Oh, so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, let's see where we can take this conversation.
Awesome. Well, of course, many of my guests or many of my audience members might not have met you before. And so, would you be open, Yvonne, to sharing with everybody a little bit about who you are and about the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
I sure can. All right, so my name is Yvonne. My company is called eventmanagement.guru. And I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is north of Montana, for those of you that are geographically challenged. And I was actually born and raised in the Netherlands. So some people, they may detect a little Dutch accent in there, and they're not wrong. I'm a mom of two grown sons. They're 35 and 33 now. And I also have four grandbabies. So yeah. And so what I do, I work with coaches who do a multi-day, usually for me, a virtual event where they make an offer. So they will have a coaching program, oftentimes a coaching program, a year-long coaching program, 6 months coaching program, or a mastermind that they sell during the event. And I'm part of their back of the room sales team. And so like I said earlier, I mainly do that virtual. I do the odd in-person event, but mainly online, which is quite handy.
So, we have a lot of our viewers who are, in fact, coaches. Some of them might host events, some of them might not. Who are the sorts of people who you find, Yvonne, benefit the most from having somebody like you on their team?
So the people that I work with, the coaches that I work with, are usually a little bit further advanced. They're not necessarily starting out.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, they already have a six-figure kind of business, sometimes even a multiple six-figure, and one of their, it's because there's so many ways to find your clients, right? Like there's people
Hmm.
that just find clients here through referral, through networking, through speaking, through hosting webinars. And then there's a category of people that love doing a multi-day event. It's not for everybody because it takes work to, to fill the room and not just fill the room, but also fill the room with, qualified leads. Is what I would say, because you can just put warm bodies in the room, but if they're not your ideal client and if they do
Hmm.
not they're not at a level where their next step working with you is their next best step, then it doesn't make sense, right? And so there's lots of people that will host, either smaller events or webinars, and they kind of go like, but nothing came from it. And there's like a whole strategy behind, filling a room, but not just with anybody. And but yeah, so to answer your question, because I kind of went off on a tangent here.
Good tangent.
Yeah, is that yeah, so my clients are usually a little bit further down the line when it comes with in their journey as a coach. They have an audience, they have, like a decent size list, and they love doing an event. Yeah.
Okay, so they're a little bit on the established side. They have a list and they enjoy events.
Mhm.
You're their people. And what
Yeah.
what is it that brought you to this particular area of work? Because this is a little bit niche.
Yeah, it is, and it's quite interesting how that journey kind of went. I was prior to moving more into the sales aspect of an event, and by sales I mean actually helping the coach, the host of the event, convert sales in the room kind of thing. I do not, just to give a little bit of a distinction here, so people understand truly what I do is that I don't put butts in seats. So I don't fill the event for you. I work
Mhm,
with you during the event to convert, people into your program. And so I was mainly focused for several years on the logistical pieces of an event. And so I was more in the event producing kind of area,
mhm,
like event planner. And even though I'm good at that, it's not necessarily where my heart is. But I also never realized that sales was my thing. And I was literally probably the last person to find out that this was something that I could kind of go off and do. It was actually one of my coaches that sat me down and said, "Listen, Yvonne," and that actually started during this conversation actually took place in April 2020, or yeah,
mhm.
2020, when as we know, the world kind of changed in that during that time. And because I was in, my main focus was in logistical pieces of a live in-person event.
Oh, yes.
By the end of April, I was like, am I even having a company left? Because nothing was happening. Originally we were told, stay home for 2 weeks and everything will be fine. And in the meantime, that 2 weeks extended, and
Mhm.
I was like, what am I going to do? And so I was talking to my coach on Zoom on a Sunday afternoon, and she asked me how I was, and that was kind of her biggest mistake in the moment. And I say that with love, but she's asked me how I was doing, and I literally just like a verbal diarrhea was like unbelievable that came out of my mouth. I just kept going, and she was just sitting there holding space for me, and
Mhm.
because I was just so frustrated, and I was literally ready to throw the towel in the ring. And by the end of my kind of piece of the story, she just looked at me and looked in the camera and said, Yvonne, quitting right now would be rather selfish. There's people out there that need you. I
Mhm,
was like,
mhm.
oh, okay, but how? And she said, well, people will have to go online, any and to be truthful here, there's the majority of the people that I was actually working with, they were, their coaching, etc., was already online. It was just their event was always, their enrollment event, how they got people through the door and into their programs. That was the only piece really that they did in person. And so she said, this needs to start happening online. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to help them? Are you going to reach out? Are you going to tell them that there needs, here's a solution? And so I was like, okay. So then I started, talking to some of my clients and say, okay, it looks like we're kind of in a permanent scenario here where we can't meet in person, or with a very limited crowd in person. Maybe we should start considering taking everything online. And you're used to being online already as you're working with your clients. I said, it's just this last final piece, you know, of taking it online. And they all kind of went like, yeah, I don't think we have any choice. So then I started, really thinking about, okay, so how are we setting that up? And
Mhm.
and what's needed for that. And initially I was doing, quite a bit of the the logistical pieces of a virtual event. But definitely with, having to have conversations with the people that were in the room, to see whether the program was going to be a good fit, it became too much. And I was actually enjoying that part much better than just, clicking a button to start the recording and, clicking a button to let somebody into the Zoom room and, things like that. I was like, there's other people out there that can do that piece. I just want to focus on, on selling. And that's how I kind of slid into third base, because I started to realize that that was where my path was going. And but like I said, I was kind of one of the last people to find out that that was where my true heart is, because I get to speak with people, with amazing people that want to make a difference in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and who have a true passion and so much expertise in areas that sometimes I kind of go like, wow, that's a thing. I didn't even know that that existed. But it's fun, and it's, so, and then just to see whether, the the event that they're attending and what's being offered, if that's a good fit for them or not. And that, that whole conversation, I just love that. I find it very intriguing.
Beautiful. It's really interesting, and you'll probably agree with me here. It's interesting that you love the sales process.
Mhm.
Did you always know that you had something in you that loved sales?
No, I honestly, I had no idea. The coach that I had the conversation with, that kind of nudged me into that direction, and we had follow-up conversations about it afterwards. And she said, I think, because I'd done work for her in the past, and she said, Yvonne, you are so good at holding space. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even have to make the sale. You just sit there with somebody. She said, I've watched you, because we were, her and I used to do in-person events together where I would be in a supportive role to her. She said, you would sit on it, sometimes on the floor in the corner of the ballroom or the space where we were hosting the event till midnight to talk it through with somebody and to hold space for them. That is selling. I'm like, oh, right. But I never saw it at that. I always just saw it as, like, I'm just holding space and just, like, because in the end, and that's always what I do, I'm not a pushy salesperson at all. So for me, and I always tell my hosts that as well, the coaches that I work for, I'll say, I will never, ever drag anybody over the finish line. They have to stand in their own power and really believe that this is what they need, and that they're willing to pay for that. I said, dragging them over the finish line is not the answer, um, for them, because both you and I in the end will oftentimes regret it, because that's, those people are usually the people that in the end drop out because they felt
Mm-hmm.
pressured, or, yeah.
They probably joined not for the correct reasons, not for their own reasons. It's so interesting to me. I love meeting people who enjoy sales because it is, hot take, everyone, my least favorite part of the work that I do. And for all of us who are women in business, there's some aspect of selling that is going to show up in our business. Yvonne, what advice would you have for somebody like me? Let's say it's not me, but somebody like me who really is hesitant when it comes to the idea of selling.
Selling, all selling is relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we sell because we build up a relationship with a person in front of us. And so it's never about me. It's all about them and how whatever is on offer can benefit them the most, and really keeping them in possibility, seeing what's possible, right? Sometimes people are, that I've in front of me, that really scared, they're afraid, because, and the main reason oftentimes is money, because the coaches that I work with, they oftentimes have like a $10,000 or sometimes even more, program, on the table as for their offer. And so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that I speak with, they've oftentimes not either invested that type of money in themselves or into their business. And so, it's calming them through the process of, of the sales process, but it's like holding them by the hand and walking them through and see, where you can take them. Sales is not something that is it shouldn't feel icky, right? And if you have a good relationship with the person in front of you, then oftentimes the program or whatever you're selling will sell itself, because you can, if you're passionate about it and you share with them, what it can do for them, right? And oftentimes sharing stories of people that have had success with the program or success with, whatever it is that you're selling. So people can see themselves and identify themselves in what you're sharing, right? So it's never about there's going to be 5 Zoom calls, every other day, they're 90 minutes long,
Nobody cares about that.
it's all about, I'm here and I have this issue.
Hmm.
And with your support, I'm going to be over here in a much better space and a much better place.
Yes.
And
Oh
this
my
is
goodness.
right. It's a journey. You take them on that journey of possibility of what's possible for them. And when it's something that they really truly want and need, they will identify with that. And then they will make the leap.
The folks who watch along with us on this show, Yvonne, they love stories.
Mhm.
They really, really love stories. And I feel like stories are great because they help to anchor in the points that we're trying to share. I think that being better at sales is going to be so helpful for so many people who are watching with us today. Do you have a story of a time when you supported with sales on an event and you were able to actually see the benefit of talking to somebody and how it helped their life to actually improve?
Well, in all honesty, I see that all the time,
I'm
right?
sure.
Because, and why I'm saying that is because I know what is on offer, right? I've studied what is on offer. I have conversations with the host around, what's being offered. And then I always have had conversations, because that's one of the things that we do is leading into the event, before the event actually starts, we have like little mini coaching sessions. We call them laser coaching sessions with the participants in the room. So I have, for a lot of people, I have a backstory. I know where they are. I know what they're struggling with, what their challenges are. And in that conversation, I will never sell during that conversation. It's usually a 15 to 20-minute conversation. And I will always share with them, um, I will ask them questions and I will sometimes share with them if I really truly believe that this would be a great fit. I will share with them and say, listen, because the majority of the people know this is a multi-day event. At one point, I'm going to get an offer, right? I'm
Mhm.
listening to an offer. And I will say, like the host is going to make an offer on day 2. And I really want you to pay attention to it because I truly believe that this is what you're looking for and what is the missing piece in your journey right now. And then it's up to them what they do with it, right? Whether they're
Mhm,
even there,
mhm.
because that's, sometimes a little bit of downside of a virtual event is that you can't control whether somebody is in the room or not, right? Whether, with an in-person event, people, especially if they have to travel to come to an event, they're there, they're present, right?
Mhm.
They usually, are there the whole time. There might be the odd exception, but a virtual event, oftentimes that camera will go off. God knows what they're doing when that camera is off. Are they actually still sitting there or did they
Did
walk
they
away?
walk away?
Right? Are they walking the dog? Are they feeding their children? Or, like you have no idea. But I will indicate to them, whether it is something to really pay attention to, if I really strongly believe that this is something for them. And sometimes I don't, because if I'm personally on the fence, if I'm listening to their story and I kind of go like, I don't know if this is a good fit, then I'll just let them decide in the end whether they feel, inclined to purchase or not.
Yeah. Can you think of anybody off the top of your head who it was such a right fit and you were able to share this gift with them?
Um, the funny thing is, let me say this first, and we always giggle about it, on any team that I work on. Um, because I work on, I've got my own clients with my, that I work with smaller teams, on their sales, on the sales piece of their event. And then I work on some other teams as well that where I just show up and just do my thing. And we always giggle about the people that I least expected from to make
Ah,
the lead, and the people that I think are a shoe-in don't buy or give me the hardest, they really give me a run for my money. They might in the end buy, but I really have to, kind of keep the vision for them and things like that. And so that's, out of the gates. I always find that very fascinating. And it comes up pretty much at every team that I'm on, that we kind of look at each other and kind of go like, what? So and so bought? So that's always funny. But yeah, I was at an event, an in-person event actually, and I was talking to this woman who, she really, she knew that she needed the program. And
mhm.
so, I stayed close to her to just constantly, remind her of what's possible. And, and she had fear. She had money fear. She wasn't too sure if her husband was going to, be in agreement with it all. All those kind of things. And I was just taking the time with her to, to talk it through and to say, okay, so what's, if you wanted to, if you need a conversation with your husband and do you want me to give you some verbiage around that? Do you want me to, to help you identify, some of the things that, you know, you need within the program that can really help him understand why you're doing this and why you're wanting this, right? Because sometimes, especially if it's a, like a higher end program, people have, you know, um, with their partner, whether it's a business partner or their life partner, they have agreements. If we have something, if we have to, like they have, for instance, like a $5,000 rule. If it's something is over $5,000, then we talk about it, kind of thing, or $1,000 or whatever the number is, doesn't matter. And so, sometimes they need some support around, like, how do I have that conversation with my partner, with my business partner, to say, this is what we've been looking for, or this is what I've been looking for, if it's a life partner. Because sometimes the life partner, especially if they have a job and they're not a business owner themselves, they don't understand sometimes what is needed as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, to go bigger and better, right? And to really grow within our businesses. And that also means that we sometimes have to invest in ourselves and in our business to gain knowledge that we didn't have before, right? So I have those kind of conversations, and I had a similar conversation with this lady. And so she could go home and have a conversation with her husband that wasn't like, I need $8,000, can I pull that out of XYZ account or whatever? And the husband kind of going like, oh my God, what's happening here? No, have like a true conversation that really helps the other person understand why you're doing it and why it's so important to you, and and the main piece, how is it going to make a difference? What's going to be different, right? How can this move you forward in your business and in your life? And so she came, she went home, and the next day she came and she was like, thank you so much for
Mhm.
helping me with that, because I would have probably blown it. I would have said stuff that, would have not made a difference, and he would have just rolled his eyes and would have gone like, heck no, that's not happening. And she came and she said, yeah, he agreed. He could see the value of it and see that it was something that I, could really use in this phase of my business. And so, she said, I'm a yes. And so I'm like, great. Here's
That's outstanding, because I know for sure that that's something that comes up a lot for folks when they're considering whether it's doing something like coming to one of Our Ladies Power Lunch retreats, or whether it's something like joining a coaching program with one of Our Ladies Power Lunch members or something like that. There's always, if it's above a certain threshold,
Mhm.
you have to consider your other joint expenses and how that's all going to factor in. And the fact that you're having conversations, not just about this is where you are now, this is where you could be, and holding the space for that possibility, but also supporting them as they figure out how they're going to talk about this with the other people who are part of their lives. That's huge. And I think maybe that's a bit of a missing piece that some of our members and our viewers who are having sales conversations, that they're not really tuning into going that deeply with potential clients.
Mhm.
I would say too that sales conversations may have changed a little bit over time. Like I'm thinking about sales conversations pre-COVID compared to sales conversations now, and there's a little different. Is that at all?
Yeah, and one of the things I think right now that is that we've seen in the industry, and it started I want to say, especially September kind of on. I've also seen it before that, the several months prior leading up to September. But with the upcoming elections in the US,
Mm-hmm.
that is also something that has been hampering sales for a lot of people in the coaching industry, because people are just more attentive to what's going on and potentially, want to kind of guard their money more to kind of go like, okay, I don't know what life and world is going to look like, after we're done with the election. And, how am I, I might need that money for something else, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so being
Mm-hmm.
a lot more conservative, with their money. And I've been hearing it over. I was actually speaking to a lady yesterday, and she's part of a really high-end mastermind group, where it's like an invitation only mastermind group. And she said, the majority of us had a launch event in September, and none of us did well. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's definitely a shift. I'm not too sure if it's a shift that will last, in more into the future, like in the next few years kind of thing, or if it's something that, maybe by spring of next year that there might be a bit of a change again. It's hard to tell. It's very finicky. It also depends a little bit on what you're offering, I think. The length, the amount, if it's an $8,000 or a $5,000 program versus a $20,000 program.
Mm-hmm.
Because, those are, of course, the $20,000 type programs are, so much heavier type of investments that people, are thinking a little harder now to make those type of investments. Um, and it's hard to say why that there's been a shift in that, because sure, COVID happened and things like that, but it's, we're life still goes on, and we're still running our businesses, and we're still, like we're still wanting to create a legacy for ourselves, and if that's of importance to you, but for a lot of people it is. A lot of women out there want to make a huge difference on this planet. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
entirely, in all honesty, not entirely sure exactly what changed and what really, when a change occurred, why it kind of stuck in that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely there. It's selling has become a little harder. There's a lot of people looking for free stuff in this moment. I've worked a lot of events where I see the same people show up, and they just literally go from event to event just to gain the knowledge and not necessarily wanting to, or able to purchase just because of their
Mm-hmm.
financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Would you say that people are leaning more into shorter programs, perhaps lower priced programs? Do you think that that's a way that our coaches and service providers can bridge that gap by offering a different type of product?
yeah, I think if one has a, like a anywhere between a 5, 6, 8 max week program, that is in a price range of, I want to say, anywhere between 500 and $2,500, you could do really well with it. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
that seems to be the sweet spot right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just finding an audience, right? Like, and that takes time and effort and work. People that say, well, Yvonne, I was hosting a webinar, and I put out a couple of posts on social media and nobody came. That is not how you fill your webinar. So
Mm-hmm.
it takes time, effort, and work, to fill your events, whether it's like a multi-day event or even as simple as a webinar. It takes effort to put people in the room.
what's working for folks to bring
It's
bums in seats, as I like to say?
Yeah, it's never one thing. It's
Hmm.
multiple things. It's speaking, it's networking, it's
Hmm.
using social media, it's getting support from, friends that are willing to, also spread the news. It's your email list, it's it's like a whole slew of things, and you have to do all of them multiple times over to actually, get the results that you're looking for. Because
Hmm.
it's noisy out there, right? That's the thing. It's noisy. You're not the only one asking for attention, right? There's so many people putting great stuff out there that want a piece of the pie in some way, shape, or form. And, for people to show up, they really have to see the value and understand, and really wanting to, because an hour or 90 minutes out of their day is one thing. It's a whole different thing when you're asking somebody to show up for 3 days for an event,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? So it really has to be something that they're looking for, that they something that they know will really help them on their entrepreneurial journey, something that they lay awake about at night. Is this what they're worried about, concerned about, or a skill that they know that they're lacking, or whatever it is. But yeah, it takes multiple ways to put them actually in the room with you. And speaking is one of the big ones.
Speaking, I absolutely agree with that.
Mhm.
And I think in another one of our upcoming episodes, we're going to actually have one of our members come on and talk about booking speaking gigs and how to go about that. So that's something, folks, if you're watching along, something that's coming soon to a theater near you or to our channel here on Apple TV, Roku TV, and Fire TV. So before we go, I would say if you had to give one piece of advice to those of us who are out here as healers, leaders, coaches, teachers, hosting our events and sharing our message and wanting to get that message to connect so that we can actually do the work with the folks that we're here to work with. What's one thing that you see a lot of us doing wrong that you're like, if you could just wrap your arms around us and say, hey, do this differently, what would that be?
That's a great question. Um, when you first started talking, one of the things that I really would like to say is actually that the money is in the follow-up. And so really doing your due diligence when it comes to the follow-up after an event, whether it's a webinar or something much bigger. Um, a no is not a no until somebody literally tells you to go away. Lose my number, and so it's to really, if you have a feeling that the door is still kind of ajar with a potential prospect, is to
Mhm.
not give up on them, and also to watch for the people that are quiet in the room that might not ask, they might not be asking the questions, they may not be speaking up or show up for like a coaching session, or you know they're really quiet. One of the things that I heard once, and I can totally see it happen, is somebody was actually once asked, "Why did you not buy the program?" And the answer was, "Nobody ever asked me."
I love that. I love that you shared that because Yvonne, a lot of the times when I am on the other side, when I am the one in the room, nobody asked. And
Mhm.
so even if it was something that could potentially have changed my life, I wasn't having conversations with folks like you, Yvonne. So I wouldn't even know how that shift would happen and how to make it happen. So I love, love, love that you're saying that. I love that you're reminding us to follow up because we always hear that the fortune is in the follow up. But truly, a lot of the times, we are so busy in our lives that scheduling that time for follow up and for connection, sometimes it doesn't happen.
No, and it's a key thing. It's a key thing to book that time, after the
Mhm.
event is over, because really, once the offer has been made, um, then there's so many things that are happening at that time that, if you have a good sales team, they will make sure that all those people are being, touched in some way, shape, or form. And then
Mm-hmm.
we always go beyond the event. So we will always, make time on our calendars to follow up with certain people where we feel that there's still an opportunity there. They just needed a little bit more time. And, sometimes, I will say, this person, I know it's there. I know that it's something that they really want, and they could probably pull the finances together if you gave them, like a moment to do that. But,
Mm-hmm.
they may just need one more conversation with you, right? And it's so important to have a team that really communicates, and is really on the ball when it comes to, to reaching out to everybody that's in the room that is a potential prospect that is eligible for the offer. And also knowing that, like who is in the room is also really important. Which, especially the people that are just starting out, I don't necessarily see that with the people, that are a bit more advanced, but the people that are just starting out is, and start dabbling into hosting events and things like that. It's really knowing who is in the room. Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
have alumni in the room? Do you have current clients in the room? Okay, so, in theory, those are usually not eligible. But then who are your prospects and really getting to know them? Yeah.
Know your prospects, get to know them. So many gems, so much value here, Yvonne. I cannot say enough how grateful we are to have you here sharing your gifts and talents with us. I like to think of our show as not just, oh, we come, we watch the show, it was fun, bye, but as a resource for women in business. And so I'd love for you, Yvonne, to give us one piece of homework, just one thing that we can do after we leave the show today. And that can actually help us to move our businesses forward as far as sales and events and those sorts of things are concerned.
One of the things that I always say is, go for the low hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is it's so much easier to sell again to an existing client than it is to a brand new prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know you, who you don't have a history with them. So if you're looking for, more revenue in your company, it's, go back to some of the people that either have recently worked with you and are taking a break, to actually go back to them and say, hey, are you ready again? Are you wanting to, leap in again? Or, a current client that is coming towards the end of the contract with you, and then, say, hey, but we can, I've got this other product or this other service, that I think would be a really good continuation of, our journey together. And it's way easier to do that than to go out into the world and find new people. They will be there as well, and you will find them. But, if you have an existing, clientele, and especially if they're coming up for, renewal or anything like that, sell to them again.
I love that.
They already know you. You don't have to build a relationship with them. They already trust you. They've worked with you. They've loved what you've offered them. So what else can you offer them?
What else? Indeed. And I think with the way that things are changing, with the uncertainty that is existing, I would say that folks are going to have more confidence saying yes to something that they've already tried or
Mhm.
somebody that they've already worked with, as opposed to starting brand new with somebody that they've never met before. So there is definitely value in that.
For
People are
sure.
going to want to know how to connect with you, Yvonne, because now that they've heard how wise you are and how outstanding you are when it comes to selling, they're going to want to pick your brain. How can people connect with you?
I am most visible I'm on all the different social platforms, but the ones that I personally pay most attention to are Facebook and LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
then, of course, I have a website called Event Management, and then literally a period dot guru, Guru. And I have a free gift on there as well, 5 tips for profitable online event. So they're more than welcome to come and download that.
Awesome. So say the name of where they can get this gift again, please.
It's the words event management dot, so literally a period, guru. So Guru.
Eventmanagement.guru. And then when they go there, they'll be able to get your tips for having a profitable Outstanding, amazing event.
There
I
you go.
love it. They have to go there, they have to get it, and of course they have to connect with you. We're almost out of time, everyone. And I know we could talk to Yvonne all day, but unfortunately, our show is just a very short amount of time. But before we go, we always like to pull a card. And for some reason, talking about sales made me think of pulling from this deck. It's a Divine Abundance deck by Tosha Silver. I love Tosha Silver. She is an outstanding author and I like her books. So let's see what she has to say. I love pulling cards because they give me a nice thought for the day, something to think about. And sometimes it's interesting to see how the card that we pull fits in with the conversation that we're having. So here's the card that popped out of the deck for us today. It says surrender. Sometimes learning to surrender can feel as if you're dying. The ego learns what's hardest, to stop trying to control the whole universe. I'm going to tell you what this means for me, and you can tell me what you think. I find the whole, just even thinking about the whole sales process to be really like the whole universe is collapsing. It's really the most difficult part of what we do here at Ladies Power Lunch for me. But I love this message to surrender to the process. It's not about me. It never was. It never will be. It's about the service and how lives can be changed from one place to the place that folks want to go. So that's what this is saying to me. I don't know. Is it saying anything in particular to you?
I totally agree with what you just said. I would say ditto to that. The surrendering is in the, stepping out of our own way and just have conversations. Like that is all what sales is about. It's about
Mhm.
having a conversation with somebody and see if you can even help them. You're not for everybody, so and that's okay too. But you have to start a conversation in order to find that out, whether it is or isn't. And so surrendering to the process of it all and being okay with what is.
Beautiful. I love this so much, Yvonne. And I feel like we're going to have you come back on the show and talk to us more about this because, true story, if we're not selling, we're not doing the very best that we can in our business. We're not serving as many people as we can. We're not lighting up the folks who are losing sleep at night because they need the work that we do. And so we're not doing as much as we can to make the world a better place.
Very true. It's very true. Yeah.
You're
Couldn't have said
amazing,
it any better.
Yvonne. I love you, love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching along with us today. And I'll
Thank
see you
you so
all
much.
on the next show. Bye, everyone.